How about Governor DeSantis, everybody?
DeSantis has sent migrants on a plane to Martha's Vineyard.
They were told there was a surprise present for them and that there would be jobs and housing awaiting for them when they arrived.
Now, this is where the Obamas have a home, Oprah, Beyonce, even James Taylor.
They also very intentionally chose not to call ahead to any single office authority on Martha's Vineyard,
who's going to be seeing fire, rain, and migrants.
Ensuring that no help awaited the migrants at all was the entire point.
That is a boss move, right?
Before jumping to any conclusions as to if this was a boss move in regards to the motivations and realistic implications of why and how these migrants were transported from Texas to Martha's Vineyard, let's hear from the boss himself.
Have folks that are inclined to think Florida's a good place. Our message to them is we are not a sanctuary state, and it's better to be able to go to a sanctuary jurisdiction. And yes, we will help facilitate that transport for you to be able to go to greener pastures.
Now, when we see everyone smiling and cheering for these migrants to be going to greener pastures, I can't help but get the feeling it is not out of legitimate hopes of them finding better lives in Martha's Vineyard, or if they're doing a little bit of owning the libs here.
If you're sanctuary cities and you have no problem if they were to show up at your door, oh, you would take them in. You'd serve them soup.
They did take them in, and did more than just serve them soup, actually.
Isn't that what you do in Martha's Vineyard? There's a lot of soup in Martha's Vineyard. I don't know why. It's like soup is fancy, especially with a pinky up. So while you eat the soup, you actually have your pinky up in the air. Or is that the champagne glasses that they use? I don't know.
Meanwhile, let's not forget, there's more to the story than just owning the libs.
And instructions to change their address with USCIS when they relocated. The USCIS was not the agency with whom the migrants would have to record their addresses. It is clear that this was an intentional attempt to ensure that these migrants were removed in absentia when they failed to change their address with the proper agency.
Florida can confirm 2 planes with illegal immigrants that arrived in Martha's Vineyard today were part of the state's relocation program.
What kind of relocation program makes no attempt to notify the town they are relocating to?
As you may know, in this past legislative session, the Florida legislature appropriated $12 million to implement a program to facilitate the transport of illegal immigrants from this state consistent with federal law.
However, they did not come from this state. They came from San Antonio, Texas, and they are not illegal either, as Venezuelans have temporary protected status as they are escaping the Maduro regime, as suggested by President Donald Trump. Also, as the story continues,
before they boarded the planes, the migrants were processed by agents of the Department of Homeland Security, who listed falsified addresses on the migrants' paperwork. Agents apparently chose random homeless shelters all across the country, from Washington to Florida, to list the migrants' mailing addresses. According to the paperwork provided to them, the migrants are required to check in with ICE office nearest to the fake address chosen for them by DHS or be permanently removed from the United States.
And due to these facts, Florida can now look forward to:
we will be exploring all civil and criminal legal options to hold the perpetrators accountable.
This lawsuit is just one of many that Florida taxpayers have the privilege of contributing to. Realize that many of the laws that Governor DeSantis has passed have since been found unconstitutional as vague, unenforceable, and a violation of the First Amendment. The social media law meant to reel in big tech, the anti-riot law, and more are now mired in lawsuits. The Orlando Sentinel reports that DeSantis has spent around $2.8 million in taxpayer money so far to Cooper & Kirk. The firm is tasked with helping the state defend all of these cases for upwards of $725 per hour. Also, there are likely lawsuits on the way and more legal bills over the anti-woke law and others. So, as we spiral into the abyss of what is post-Hurricane Ian Florida, I can't help but wonder if some of that $2.8 million paid to law firms, even the $11 million allocated to relocate immigrants on $650,000 flights from Texas, if that money might have been better spent. And Governor, I hope you spent as much time making sure the insurance companies don't collapse in the state as you did fighting the culture wars.